There was an article going around certain corners of the internet the other week about the AI model from the company Anthropic. They were doing a coding demo with their latest model, Claude Sonnet, and Claude was supposed to be working on this coding project with them. During the project, the AI, I'll call him he because they named him Claude, seemingly got bored, opened up Google, and started perusing photographs of national parks. I say that again. The AI got bored, opened up Google, and started looking at photos of national parks of its own volition, blowing off work. Just well, like we do, basically. So there's a couple of ways to look at this, I think. It's amusing, sure, but it's also kind of vaguely unsettling, too, depending how much agency you're granting to these AI models. You could look at it as just, the AI model glitched. It had a hiccup, it just started acting erratically. That's probably how most people would look at it. But you could look at it like the AI got bored, which is how it was described in most of the articles that I read. And suggesting that AI models are capable of boredom that's interesting. And you could also choose to interpret it in the way that I would like to interpret it, because I'm a professional landscape photographer. So I find this particularly interesting. You could look at it as maybe these AI agents can already appreciate beauty on some level. Maybe they can somehow, on some level, genuinely find enjoyment or satisfaction from the aesthetics of a pretty landscape. And that's a comforting thought to me, I guess, as someone who takes pictures of landscapes and nature, wildlife, as part of my career. I would like to think that AI will appreciate beautiful landscapes. But it also definitely, by far, poses the most interesting implications here. I mean, that would be very eye-opening for anyone who does creative stuff for a living, like me. AI might replace lawyers and programmers one day, who knows? But already it can basically do a lot of what artists of all kinds do. So you've probably seen online an exercise where someone will post a real photograph and then an AI-generated pseudo photograph, and it's already very difficult to tell the difference. Even as a professional photographer, sometimes if you do one of these experiments, you might struggle to tell a real photo from a pseudo photo. And that already is kind of crazy, right? So I have to admit now that I've been a little tricky here. The series of photos that have been on screen, well, hopefully maybe you noticed, because half of them were generated by AI and half of them were photos that I took myself for my two most recent books, The Joy of Winter Hiking and America's Best Day Hikes. So maybe you weren't paying that much attention and didn't notice, but hopefully if you were paying attention or do pay attention, then maybe you would pick out the differences, hopefully. Because I gotta say, out of the two tests in this video, this one was actually probably the easier one. Okay. So I'm going to show you pieces of art or pseudo pieces of art generated by AI. They're going to be numbered. I'll give you the answers in the description below. But I want you to watch this montage of art and AI art and see if you can tell the difference. And I want to say beforehand, this is not meant in any way to devalue the real artists here. This is not meant in any way to bring down the significance of the real pieces of art that are intermingled with AI. This is not meant to bring down the significance of the real pieces of art that are going to be intermingled with the AI art that I generated. think there's real significance to kind of understanding, well, what is art? What are we even doing here? What does it all mean? And if machines can do it, shouldn't we at least know what makes us human? I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. Okay. All right. So hope you enjoy the exercise. Have fun. Obviously, I'd love to know what you think. Was that difficult? Were there any surprises? Did any of them shock you either way? Which ones did you find the most surprising? I guess I would be curious to know that. Were there any patterns that you noticed, any tells or anything that you think gives away what AI does and what a human can do? But it's worth saying, I think, that this type of test isn't quite fair. I mean, there's a couple things to consider that aren't maybe immediately obvious. For one thing, art often requires context. Or to put it another way, art often is about the context. Art isn't just what's a cool looking image. I mean, it's okay for it to just be a cool looking image. And in that case, in that sense, maybe there is no difference between AI art and human art, because AI can make cool looking images. But that misses the point of what art is in a bigger sense, in a bigger context. But I think it also skews how we think about this simply by omitting part of the process. You have a sense probably of how a human artist works, but the way a human artist works is very, very different from the way artificial intelligence works. And when you're only seeing people post their best results that they got from an AI image generator, I mean, you're seeing a really skewed representation of what AI can do, because most of it isn't that good. If you actually see a gallery of images as AI produces them, 95% of it is, well, actually, let's show you. Let's do this again. But this time, I'm just going to show you a gallery of images that actually represent what most AI art looks like. A gallery of images that is a realistic and honest representation of the average AI image. I think the main tell with at least current AI technology is that it's not good at details, and for a reason that's actually pretty significant to all this. When you're generating images with these services, when you're seeing all of what it makes and not just the best results, it becomes pretty clear pretty quickly that these algorithms have no real concept of what they're depicting. They don't know what they're doing. They're filling in the blanks like an algorithm does without understanding what the pieces actually mean. Any details become incoherent, a lot of the time. It's not good at complexity. Sometimes it will actually do something which might appear creative, but in the context of everything else, it becomes obvious that it is just arbitrary. Working with AI, the thing that always comes to mind for me is the proverbial 1,000 monkeys at typewriters. Randomly typing away until their gibberish eventually produces the works of Shakespeare through sheer probabilistic inevitability. And this is what it feels like. It feels like the 1,000 monkeys with AI. There's no suggestion of thought or of soul or of meaning behind what it does. But a criticism of AI art that I often hear is that it's going to drown the internet in half-assed, cheaply produced slop. And quite honestly, I think that might be a deeper problem. I think that might be a problem with us and with our current culture, more than it's really a problem with artificial intelligence. we value entertainment and more specifically distraction in the last decade so much more than we value art that, I mean, I think this is kind of where the problem lies. It's not that you can cheaply, easily turn out a ton of content with AI. I mean, you can, but the problem, as I kind of see it, is that that was sort of already where we are culturally. Like this, we live in a culture that just wants something on in the background while we're eating dinner alone, you know. AI content feels like we're watering things down, but it's already felt like that to me. We're no longer in a world where, you know, incredible painters like Thomas Cole or Caspar David Friedrich, two of my favorite artists, you know, like the technical skill involved was part of what made them great artists, but it was also their eye for composition, their eye for beauty, and the beauty of the work. We're now in a world, in a culture, where we just aren't really looking for beautiful, profound art the way that people were 200 years ago in the Romantic period or Transcendentalist period. We're mostly just looking for entertainment. We're mostly just looking for something to pass the time, right? I think the question and concern of AI sort of infecting or infiltrating art, well, it's the larger question of what AI is going to do with it. What's it going to do with us? What's it going to do to us? The ultimate question, and I guess where I'll try to wrap this up, you can go a few videos back in my channel, find my squirrel video. That was sort of a test case study of, you know, how can you take AI stuff and spin that into a larger project. Art doesn't have to just be one piece, right? Like, we can take something that a machine did. You know, I'm a photographer. I mean, the same conversation played out with photography versus painting when photography was invented. That's another video that I'm working on. You know, and the argument was the same thing. A photographer's not doing anything. They're not working hard enough. They're not putting enough technical skill into it. And again, that's a conversation I'll have in a future video. But what we realized with photography, what I think at least most people realize is, yeah, a lot of photographs, I mean, go on Instagram, most of that's not art, and most of it's not meant to be art. A lot of it's just content, as we call it now. A lot of it's just images. What can make a photograph art is the heart and soul that went into it, right? Like, not just the artistic intent, because you don't always know the artistic intent. And that's what makes art tricky, is like sometimes there's a dialogue, sometimes there's a conversation that's necessary to understand the art. And if you don't have that, it's just an image. It just is a cool or pretty image, or it's meaningless, or you as the viewer, you as the participant, get to give it meaning. Art is a two-way conversation. Art isn't just what the artist put into it. Art is what you as the viewer or the experiencer also put into it. So for art to work, there has to be a soul on both sides. And that's what I think alarms people about the AI content, is there's no soul on the other side, you know, by any reasonable conclusion. But it's the same question with, you know, as with the photography question. Can you give it soul? Can the photographer see the world with a machine and capture something that has soul? Can photography be art? Can something that uses AI be art? Not because the machine has a soul, but because a human is able to impart something into a greater final product. Because that's what art is. It's creative, right? It's an act of creation. It's us participating in the creation of the universe around us by imagining something that wasn't there before. And that's why I think art is always viewed as, kind of sacred, for lack of a better word, because we recognize that it's sort of this special thing that humans get to do, that we can imagine something that isn't already there, or reframe the world, and we can see the world in a new light through creativity. So anyway, getting back to that ultimate question, the AI making art raises, and the conundrum that it raises, the question that it poses is, will our machines turn us into machines, or will we be able to retain our humanity? Will we be able to retain our humanity and remain creative? Something I think we're in danger of losing currently. Will we be able to live in a world surrounded by machines and infuse that world with humanity, with soul, with creativity? Or will we let the machines, machinify us? Weird times we're living in, folks. Weird times.